Hi, my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So I am not doing what I did in the month of February and not doing a mid-month wrap-up. I am doing a mid-month wrap-up this month because it makes it easier at the end of the month if I've already talked about some of the books I've read, and I've had an amazing month so far with reading 7 books. One of them, my very first book of the month, was my favorite book so far this month. But out of the 7, I've only had 1 3-star, I think. No, 2 3-stars. And the rest have been 4 stars or that 5-star. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the ones that I do not own physically so that I don't forget to talk about them. The first book was a book that I borrowed from the library, and that was The Best Summer of Our Lives by Rachel Hauck. This is a women's fiction dual timeline and following 4 girls who grew up as best friends known as the 4 seasons. So we are following summer, autumn, spring, and snow. Yes. Wasn't winter. Yes, snow. Okay. And for 3 of them, that is their real first name. For Snow, her last name was Snowden, so they called her Snow in with the 4 seasons. Okay, that kind of annoyed me before I even started in the book. Just knowing that these were the 4 main characters we were following, I was like, this just feels really cheesy and tacky. And as we go on, they don't even call autumn autumn. They refer to her as fall instead. And I'm like, why? Like, it just, yeah. So we are following, it's a dual timeline, 1977 and 1997. So we follow the girls. They have just finished high school, are in the process of moving on to college or kind of what's going to be next for them. They got in trouble with a prank they did, and they have been sent off to work at this summer camp in Oklahoma. So they're from Florida to work in Oklahoma. Now, one of the girls' moms is running the camp, so that's kind of how that all starts. It is a girls' camp. They get to the camp, and then something has happened in the area that kind of puts everybody on edge. And so they have to really be careful around the camp, and they've got security and everything. But we are learning about these 4 girls. The story switches to their perspective at different times, like each one of their perspectives at different times. They are supposedly best friends who share everything. But it really didn't feel like they shared everything. They were keeping a lot of secrets from each other. The parents were keeping secrets from the children. Like, it was just, there was a lot of secret keeping. And in the 1997 timeline, we find out that there was a falling out. We assume it happened in 77 when they were at this camp because of the way things are working. And the 4 girls have not talked to each other or a lot of them have not talked to each other in a number of years. And so we're following both timelines to kind of see what led up to that event and can they restore their friendship. And there were certain characters that I really, really liked. But there was one character in particular that just drove me insane. And every time it switched to her perspective, it was like, can I please go to somebody else? Yeah. I was not a fan of this book. There was just way too many secrets being kept. And for best friends, they were not very honest with each other. And it's like they had to wait till their truth night that they had set up where they could actually share their real true feelings. And it just, when they did share the true feelings, then somebody reacted. And it just, yeah, not a true friendship from what I saw. And then the way that the story wrapped up, it was way, way too quickly. And also felt a little unrealistic. Like, there are certain people that have kept secrets from their significant other for a number of years. Like, a large number of years. And I don't mean, when I mean significant other, I don't mean they were just dating. They were married. And I'm just like, I don't know. It just, yeah. The story just rubbed me wrong. There was some faith elements in it and talking about trusting God and like he will help you through everything. And like I really liked some of the characters and the way they worked together, and some did support others, but others just, yeah, it just rubbed me wrong. Okay, then another one that I read on my Kindle that I borrowed from Kindle Unlimited, I think. Yeah, I don't think I own this one. And that is Rocky Road by Becky Wade. It is book 2 in her Sons of Scandal series. So this one we are following Jude, who we met in book 1 very briefly. We know that he's an FBI agent. And then we are following Gemma, who is a perfumer. And they end up having to work together through an FBI assignment as a fake relationship. Their initial meeting, so funny. So hilarious. I loved it. And then we're seeing Jude is a very serious, organized, like everything is strict in order for him. And then Gemma is very much a free spirit, and they're two opposites, very much so. And I really enjoyed seeing them interact together with each other. However, there is a storyline with Fiona that at times the POV switches to her, who is Jude's mom. And I didn't care about her. I just did not. Every time I switched, it was like, can you please go back to Gemma and Jude? Like, I just like them. Gemma is also trying to solve a mystery for her great-grandmother who is dealing with Alzheimer's. And so we're watching Gemma kind of figure out clues and try to find answers for her great-grandmother. And I really enjoyed that storyline, as well as watching the relationship develop between the characters. I didn't really care for the case, the FBI case, like the reason they're interacting to begin with. It was there, but it was like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. As long as these two get together, I'll be fine. So I gave it 4 stars because it was enjoyable. I liked it better than book 1, but there was parts of it I just did not care about. Okay, and then the other book that I read on my Kindle that I do own is My Lucky Charm by Courtney Walsh. This is book 2 of the Holidays with Heart series, and I thought it was kind of around St. Patrick's Day because the cover's green, it's got clovers on the cover. There is a mention of St. Patrick's Day in the book, but it's not, you could read it anytime. It's just somebody's referred to as the Lucky Charm. And so we are following, this is a grumpy sunshine trope with an NHL player and somebody who is assigned to kind of be their personal assistant and kind of get them to open up to the media a little bit more, comfortable around fans. The guy has just been traded to Chicago team, didn't want to be traded, and we find out why he didn't want to be traded, what was tying him back. I enjoyed the characters, but this was a very light and fluffy read. Just entertainment. I would have liked more depth with the characters. There are some moments where we find out why the guy is grumpy and why hockey is his only focus. He can't think about anything else. But then it's never really dug into a lot. We see him kind of deal with, okay, yes, there's more, make the decision, but I would have liked to see more of that. And then on the female perspective, we find out like why she is so happy. She kind of sees the good in everybody. She has been hurt, and kind of how she deals with that and her reaction to something, which I liked, but again, I would have liked more for it. It was very light. However, the little girl in it, who's 11 years old, who I don't think doesn't come across as a little girl, but she had some of the best lines. Like, she just had some of the best lines. Kids say the darndest things. And yeah, so this was a fun read. I just would have liked more depth with the characters. Again, I gave it 4 stars because it was fun. Okay, then the two books that I listened to were both rereads for me, and that is books 1 and 2 of the Heroes of Quantico series. So book 1 is Against All Odds, and book 2 is An Eye for Eye, An Eye for an Eye by Irene Hannon. So this is an older series. I think this was the first series, maybe the first series I read by Irene Hannon. Yes, I'm pretty sure. And from the author's note, I found out that book 2 is actually the first one she wrote, but then she went and wrote book 1, and then they were published book 1, book 2. I found that really interesting because I enjoyed book 2 much more than I enjoyed book 1. So we are following FBI agents who are stationed at Quantico, and in book 1, the two of them have been assigned protective detail to a diplomat's daughter who has been threatened and possibly kidnapped. The diplomat is serving overseas, I want to say in Afghanistan, but now I'm not sure if that's for sure. And their terrorists over there have kidnapped some Americans over there, but then they threatened the American daughter that is in Virginia. And so the agents get assigned to be her protection detail. She, of course, does not want protection. She is estranged from her father, and it's like, why now? What? But they end up getting to know each other, working together, and a relationship forms between one of the agents and the daughter. But there are moments that it was like edge of the seat, like how did the villains do this and get this past the agents? So I was very invested in what was happening in America. However, there are a couple terrorists in this that we get their points of view in both Afghanistan and in America, because somebody's kind of calling the shots in Afghanistan for what's happening in the States. But each of the terrorists kind of has their own motive as well. So they're doing kind of the group, following through with their group orders, but then they've got their side that they want for themselves. So which one's going to happen? And it was hard to keep the different terrorists separate. I didn't know who was who, which leader was which, or if that's the one in Afghanistan or if that was the one in the States. I struggled with that side a little bit. And so I gave book 1 3 stars because I really liked the characters again more than the story and what is going on. However, I did have an issue with the characters as well, because one of them is a very strong Christian. The other one basically says he has no faith, and yet they start a relationship. And I was like, yeah, no. Okay, then book 2, we follow the same agents are assigned to a new case because one of them has been shot at in a park. This one is now set in St. Louis. They have been reassigned for a little bit, and they are out in a park with somebody they are shot at, and it gets questioned, who was the target? Was the girl the target, or was the guy the target? So the agents get assigned the case to try to figure out what's going on. This one, we find out very early on as a reader of who was the actual target because we are following the villain's perspective, but the characters don't know. They're still trying to piece the clues together. This one felt very realistic because of the time it took to put the clues together and figure it out. It's weeks happening between different things. So I really liked that. And the fact that Irene had me caring about the villain and feeling sorry for the villain, because they've been through a very traumatic time, and that's why they're doing what they're doing. And at the end, when something happens, I was starting to tear up. And I'm like, I shouldn't feel sorry for the villain, what they've done. But yeah. So I gave this one 4 stars because I was invested in the story, liked the characters, and the fact that I cared about the villain. As Dawn Breaks by Kate Breslin. This one is set in 1918, starts out in Nottingham, England, and then goes to Gretna, Scotland. We are following Rose, whose guardian is her uncle, who is not a nice man, and is trying to marry her off to another guy who is not a nice man either. And while she's working at the factory, an explosion happens, and she sees this as her chance to escape. So she takes an assumed identity and goes out to Gretna, Scotland. She's able to get a job at another factory up there and finds a room and board at a family who their daughter also works at the factory and is in her cell that she's assigned to run. And so they get to know each other. And I loved the way the family took Rose in, even though they didn't know who she was. Just kind of opened her up, shared, and just treated her like part of the family. Rose is dealing with conflicting feelings about the fact that she's keeping this secret identity and who she really is, but she can't reveal herself because that would be detrimental to her if her uncle found out that she's here. And then the family's oldest son comes back. He has been released from the army, but really that's kind of his cover story. But he is assigned to work at the factory undercover to try to figure out a threat that's happening to the factory and can he stop it in time. He is suspicious of everybody around him, and the way the two of them initially meet, it was hilarious. I loved it. And so both of them, neither one want to open up to the other because they have reasons for keeping their secrets. But as things kind of progress and they get to know each other a little bit more, I wanted them to open up to each other and learn to trust one another, because who can you trust? Like, they don't know. Both of them don't know who they can trust. There were so many spies in a way, because I didn't follow like Alex's storyline a lot of who he was reporting to, who was telling him to do what. It just, I wasn't sure which one, like who was the real leader, and then like kind of his next in command, their next in command. And then, is Rose going to be okay? I cared about her so much. I loved her. And the way that she was around the family and just caring, and the way she struggled with the secret she's keeping, but it was totally understandable why she's keeping the secret. But then as things kind of develop, maybe the secret will be revealed, and then what's going to happen? And I was so invested in the story. I loved it. The only struggle I had with, as I said, was keeping track of the spies. Who was who? Who could you really trust? Because there's a couple characters in there that maybe not who they seem on the surface. I mean, as we know from Rose, she's not who she seems on the surface, but as a reader, we know that. But then, was there other characters? I really enjoyed the story. And it was so fun to be in Gretna, Scotland, because I'd been there, and not the factory was around and stuff, but just knowing where this is in Scotland was kind of cool. Then my favorite of the month so far. The book that I started the month with, One Wrong Move by Dani Pettrey. I loved it. And now to even think about it, what did I love about it? So, this one is set in New Mexico, and we are following Christian O'Reilly, who is a security officer, runs a security company. He has set up security at an art gallery, and that art gallery gets broken into, so the owner contacts him like, how did they get past your security? Like, what's going on? And then, what is her name? Andy. Oh, I wasn't sure of myself there. Works for the insurance agency, and she is to investigate, was this break-in an inside job or what's going on? And so Andy and Christian have to work together to try to figure this out. Now, the gallery owner owns multiple galleries, so they're going to check out the other galleries because is his galleries being targeted or just this one, or what's going on? And then their lives are threatened as they're on their way to another location. And how are they going to get out of that? And it was just edge of the seat. Like, I just loved so much action and very invested in the characters, because then we find out that Andy has a connection to Christian's brother, and might not be good, might be okay, but Christian and his brother do not share the same last name, so Andy doesn't know initially. So I loved it. And the three siblings, so Christian, his brother, and his sister, are kind of the main characters we're following in this one. And so all three of them are really featured in this book. But then the sister, Riley, there is a storyline going on with her that I want book 2 because I want to know. I'm just so invested. I want to know. I loved the way the characters worked together and supported one another. So Christian and Andy are working on their case. Then there is another case happening that the brother and sister are working on. And so the POV switches back and forth quite a bit, but that did not take me out of the story at all. I was very invested in all the characters that were going on and what was happening. And as soon as I finished this book, I put it down and be like, okay, when does book 2 come out yet? Has it come out yet? Will it be out soon? It doesn't come out till the end of April. So I gotta wait, because I was really ready to pick up book 2 right away, but I was thinking it came out in March, but no, it comes out in April. So yeah, this was my favorite. It is romantic suspense, and I just loved it. And yeah, I loved it. So that is what I have read so far in the month of March. We still have half the month to go, so will it be as good as the first half of the month? I sure hope so, because I still have 4 more books on my TBR that I want to read this month. We'll see what happens. As I said, so far, One Wrong Move is my favorite book of the month. I'd love if you would tell me in the comments below what the favorite book you have read so far this month is, and what book you are excited to pick up kind of next. For me, that is Never Fall Again by Lynn H. Blackburn. That is coming up very quickly. That will be like the next book I start once I finish my current read. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.